Welcome to the recap of my round 2 in Cambridge, England. This game was crazy. I was playing a 1696 who beat an 1850 last round, round 1. And into round 2, I'm confident, but I'm a bit weary that my opponent is super underrated. I was looking against my opponent's database and my opponent plays anything and everything. It was shocking to see. Like literally anything against e4 that you can imagine my opponent has played. But I saw in the Youth Polish Championships that my opponent played c5. Like once. And now I go knight f3 and we go into a Sicilian that is the con variation. Actually, that's very interesting. So a6. I had looked at these lines a few minutes before leaving my hotel and I was not entirely ready, but I did my spiel. Bishop d3, developing a bishop. I want a short castle in this type of Sicilian. My opponent goes knight c5, bishop c5, and now I go knight b3, kicking this bishop. Black has two reasonable options in this line, bishop a7 or bishop e7. Bishop e7 gives queen g4 things, attacking this, and bishop a7 keeps the bishop along this nice diagonal. Now white's plan is to neutralize this bishop along the diagonal, so I go for a quick queen e2. Can you see the plan? Knight c6 is played, and now I neutralize the bishop here with bishop e3. Very nice so far, right? Developing, neutralizing the opponent's best piece. Knight ge7 was played, developing, I guess. And now I go for f4, super aggressive. f4 is not needed in this opening. It's more of a opening where you establish a Maroczy bind with c4 and then go knight c3. A Maroczy bind is when you have just two pawns that bind the d5 square like this. So I go f4 here and now d6. And so already I really enjoy nice space and nice development with the white pieces, and I feel quite comfortable here. I go castle, my opponent goes castles, and now I go c4. And so my opponent goes knight b4. Okay, so I went knight c3. I can't really do anything against the fact that I'm gonna lose the bishop pair, so I just accept it. But now knight c6. Upon like a mistake, let's say h3, my opponent is threatening knight b4, queen back, bishop takes, queen takes, and then knight c2 fork. I mean, I wanted to believe that I'm at the level where you just don't do a move to threaten things. This move is not even that good if not for the threat. And now I punish this. I'm actually very happy that I found exactly the way to punish this. This bishop is good, so we take it off the board and we create a bad piece. Like this rook is now very passive. But not only that, now we target the weakness. You see, we can't really target the weakness now because of bishop takes and then my queen is off of d6. So we take it off first and now we target the weakness with rook d1. Black has only one way to defend and save this pawn on d6, which I saw, is queen b6 check and now king h1. And here you have to play rook d8 to defend the pawn. And now look at the black position. There are some intricacies that once observing 3-4 moves in, I was really pleased with seeing this. The bishop is completely behind the pawn structure. The rook is completely binded and does not have any chance for resurrection in the next 3 moves because of the queen that I placed there in order for black to salvage this pawn on d6. The queen hinders the movement of this pawn on b7, and this rook can't slide through to d7. So this rook is completely blocked off. This queen is helping this pawn block off this rook. It's just a fantasy here, and this bishop is blocking off this rook for future things as well. Black have one active piece that is pretty good, which is insane. And now I go with f5. Black is binded on the queen side. So it's the best time to attack a weak king that has no defenders except for pawns. f5, for the idea of f6, I don't want to trade here. And if you try to go around this, I have knight d5 and I'm completely winning, like the queen is trapped. So my opponent goes with queen c7. I was looking at f6 things, but I don't see how this is really good. I'll go like queen g3, establish an attack while also simultaneously attacking the d6 pawn. So queen c7, though, I love my position even more because of f6. So my opponent takes. If you play g6, I have queen e3, and I don't see how you're defending mate here. Like king h8, and then queen h6, and then rook g8, and then I play rook f3, and I'm threatening checkmate in 2 moves. Like already this is becoming super scary. I'm threatening mate in 2. So you're forced to play e5, and then I play rook dd3 to threaten mate in 3 with this. So like sacking a queen and a rook is threatened. Queen d7 is played to threaten to defend this, and then I just have rook h3 and you have to sack your queen. So already black is on a very, very thin sheet of ice. G takes f6 is played. And now I have a 1 hour and 10 minutes. I play check, king here, and I think for like so long here about how to play. It's very, very insane. Either I play queen h4 to attack this, queen f4 to attack this. I can take the pawn directly. I can play queen f3. The best move here that I missed, and forgive me that I missed this, it's out of this world. It's literally queen f2 for the weirdest reasons. So the reason why I'm saying all these queen moves to attack this pawn is that really black has one way to defend this. On queen h4, black has the only way to defend this is queen e7. It's that weak of a pawn. King here and you succumb to like rook f3, rook g3 things, and you're not defending this pawn. You're not telling me you're defending this pawn. The queen f2 move attacks this pawn and hits the rook on a7. For fakes for now, but once you defend, for reals after knight d5. Who sees this, bro? I'm cheating on an engine if I ever play queen f2, bruv. Knight d5, attacking this queen and this pawn. You have to take my knight. E takes, and now e takes attacking this knight, which is defending the rook. The rook must go back here, and after takes, and rook fe1, bishop here, the engine evaluates that this is the best course of action for the white pieces. I mean, this is just out of this world at this point. Who's going for that? Because I didn't win any material and it's just positionally amazing. I was really debating between this and this, and I was looking like 5-10 moves deep into these lines, and finally, I come up with some genius things. I play queen h4, and after queen e7 to defend, let's say, queen e7, I take this pawn now, and this is really interesting. Knight e5 is played almost immediately, and I have 26 minutes left on my clock, but I have the solution. Knight e5, okay, covers the e5 pawn sacks with knight e4, but also threatens knight d7 to force a queen trade. Black wants to trade queens. They're not up a pawn, but they want to trade queens. Like, they want to get out of this attack as soon as possible. I saw in this position, it's pretty much all forced till here, 2 moves in. I saw rook f1. This is insane. On knight d7, I am planning e5, and if you take my rook, I am just better here after e takes queen f8 and rook f3 with rook h3 or rook g3 things. And black is like has a tough time defending. I think even the queen must sack itself against the rook at one point because the rook is just gonna go to g7 and this is gonna be GG's. And there are so many ways to try to defend. If knight takes e5, the e5 pawn sack was a clearance sacrifice for my knight to go to e4. And now I'm going knight g5 things and rook h6 things, and h7 is completely lost. Insane. If you take with the pawn, same. I had knight e4, sacking this knight as well, this rook as well. Knight takes, I have knight takes f6, and you can't defend this because this pawn is just completely betraying the whole black piece's defense here. Insane. So I'm so confident. I played rook f1, and my opponent plays rook g8 in the matter of minutes. And now I have 26 minutes, and I have nothing against this. Well, I have a better position. Rook g8 is kind of bad, because knight d7 to trade rooks is kind of the best procedure. So now I just have to improvise because I only looked at one move from my opponent. The obvious move that I was sure my opponent was going to play. Rook g8 is played. I come up with a really nice move here. c5. c5 is so nice. I'm threatening to take here and get your queen off of the king side defenses. And once you take, because I was pressuring there, I have this really nice move, queen h5. And I'm threatening this knight, and I am out of this pin that was so annoying. Now I can make a rook move to actually threaten a mate. I'm threatening your knight. If you move your knight, I win this pawn, right? So it's really, really thin ice. Queen d6 is the only move in this position which I had seen, and now I play a very, very nice move, knight d5. Knight d5 is winning. The pawn is pinned due to this newly placed queen, and this knight move actually does something. I want to get my knight to f6. Now, the weakness is h7. It's important to do this when you're attacking. You observe the weakness, h7. f7 is also a weakness, it's well defended. h7 is the weakness that's not defended. h7 is the weakness. The defenders are this rook and this queen previously, but not anymore. But this rook in 2 moves. And what can I do to delay this on b5, getting this rook to activate along this h7 square? I go rook h6, threatening this, f5 is played, and now I go knight f6. It's the only forced moves. I know my opponent's moves like a book. I had seen queen d6, I had seen b5, I had seen f5, and this is winning. You simply can't defend all of this, because on rook g7 I have queen e8, which is so nice. And on other moves like queen e7, which was played in the game, I have an option, an absolute buffet between taking here and winning a queen for a rook and knight, or taking here and winning the exchange. And what would you have done in this position? I'm very curious. I have 14 minutes on the clock. I do have to consider what is going on. I did look at everything in this position, and this is what I came up with. On knight takes g8, I am very scared after king takes g8 because my opponent, low-key, is threatening some rapid counterattacks. Here, I had seen a nice little variation, but that doesn't win. I had seen this, and I was like, okay, this is very nice. It's all forced. You know, it's very tactical, very beautiful. Feel free to rewind the video if you didn't see all of this coming. King here, and then I can just like take this, or I can even go here and win this. Let's say king here to avoid the forks, queen takes c5, rook here. And I was like, this is fine, but it's equal at the end of the day, or I'm just up a pawn. This is completely winning, by the way. It's like +6, because I won a bishop. I missed this. Here, if you don't see this, if you don't play this, if you play like, I don't know, h3 here, it's almost completely equal. Like, black almost has full compensation for the exchange. So you have to kind of see this sack that comes with the package. So that's hard to find. Next, I looked at rook takes here. Rook takes, winning the queen. After queen takes is forced, knight takes, and rook takes. There are very, very nice counterplaying chances for the black pieces. This is very scary. In fact, I only have one move here to retain the advantage. If I go queen d1 mistakenly, knight g5, knight g4 attacks this pawn, h3 and knight e3, and then I fall into a fork. So I have to play queen e2. I saw queen e2 and I was like, it's all right, but black is doing so well here. Like literally, I'm scared of this. Like I'm so scared of this. And if I do like one misstep, rook takes h3 and black are winning. King g1 and knight e3. And like this is being run through. So it's super dicey, like super, super dicey. So here, I had the genius idea of going for a patient move. Actually, a patient move here is not bad. The best move in this position is rook f4 on a very, very strong engine. And on knight g4, I can just sack the rook and then just win here with this, and now I have check, and white is better. Because the knight off the board is such a relief that you just want to sack the exchange for that knight. I didn't play this slow move, I played knight takes h7, which is like rook takes, so it's kind of the same. Queen takes, and now I have the genius idea to play the slow move, queen h4. And you see it on the screen, it's a blunder. At the time, I was very excited about this move because I'm threatening queen f6 check and I'm gonna win this, and the counterplaying things like black has to defend this more. If not for the move that black has that I did not come up with during the game, hurts so much. If not for this resource that black has, I'm completely winning, and this is a amazing move. But genius that I used previously is grossly overstated. Knight g4 here, and now I find myself in a bit of trouble. My rook is attacked, and now if I take, rook takes, and h2 is actually a big problem now because the knight is already on g4, and so I kind of lose. And the knight on g4 takes up the queen f6 things at the same time, and I see the move right before my opponent plays it. My opponent plays it, and I go, oh, I completely missed that. I blundered. You know that feeling when you say to yourself, without saying it, I blundered. Like that's just such a hurting feeling. And here I completely lose hope, like I collapse. because knight g4, and I was almost playing rook h5, the extremely patient rook h5, but here this actually loses. I'm glad I didn't play it. Queen takes h5, queen takes, and rook h7, my queen is trapped. I didn't play it. I had to take, and I had to give this pawn. Now, I was anticipating rook takes and then king g1, and I'm fine. I maybe am still winning. I have a queen for a rook and a knight, but my opponent plays knight takes h2, which I was completely surprised by. I go with check first, rook g7, and here, I can't find the only move that draws because of the psychology of it. So in chess, when you blunder, and you blunder very badly, you stop calculating, and I still have to work on this. It's like a mental exercise I still have to work on for myself. And here there is one move that defends, and really, I'm shell-shocked at this point because I'm saying to myself I'm lost. After check, this desperate check, rook g7, black are threatening checkmate in 1. And I missed knight takes h2, the second move I missed by my opponent. So like 3 strikes you're out type thing. Knight f3, checkmate is threatened. I'm absolutely panicking and I go g4, giving some air for my king. The move here is quite simple actually. It's just moving the king in advance. King g1 is actually winning here. Knight takes f1, and then queen takes c1, c5, or king takes f1, and it's a draw here. It's a draw from this. But I played g4. And I didn't think it at the time. My opponent has some discoveries, but worst comes to worst, you win my rook, but you don't really have checkmate. It's hard to checkmate the king with 2 rooks here and a queen that's just pinning one of them. My opponent goes with b4, which is an insane move, only found in 5 minutes, bro. Crazy. And whatever I play, queen c4, queen c2, it doesn't really matter. I saw that after queen takes c5, there was some nice things, but I didn't see this. My opponent goes with knight takes g4, discovered check. First time in my life this happens, King g2 and knight e5, second discovered check. 2 discovered checks in a row. That's pretty rare. And here I resigned. I am forced to play king f2 here. It's the only move that I'm allowed to play. And now knight d3 will fork my queen and king, and it's completely over. This is such a sad and humbling game, especially intending that I destroyed the opening. I destroyed the early middle game, making that king weak, bringing my pieces into attack very fast, finding knight d5 the only winning move in that position, and then winning material with that combination. But I ought to give it up. And so I have 1 out of 2. Complete disaster in Cambridge after 2 rounds. I have to bounce back in round 3. I hope I bounce back in round 3.